Have you ever seen a black boy smile? Have you ever experienced a brown boy's joy? We are a beautiful human. We are love. All of us. We simply are.
Chris Chatmon. I'm the president and CEO and co-founder of Kingmakers of Oakland. Really, I think at its most simplest, I'm a teacher at heart. I want to acknowledge the son of Deloitte Ann Shaw and Herbert Joseph Chatmon. Married 26 years to LaShawn Denise Rute Chatmon. Have three extraordinary sons, Amari Cologne Jordan, and a grandson, baby Dominic. So I'll start with that as my introduction.
If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about Kingmakers?
Yeah, absolutely. Kingmakers of Oakland is really movement work, right? It was born out of work that I was blessed to start in Oakland Unified School District back in 2010. And that work was, I was the founding executive director of the Office of African American Male Achievement. It was the first department of its kind in the country, where Oakland Unified School District had the audacity actually to really disrupt the school to prison pipeline by creating an in-district department that was focused on improving educational life outcomes for black boys, but not locating the problem with black boys, but really the system, the structure, the culture and condition. Then Superintendent Dr. Anthony Smith hired me to really create the plan and the strategy on how we improve educational life outcomes of black boys from preschool to 12th grade. And I've been on that journey ever since, and really codified the theory of action and those practices through Oakland Unified School District, and then launched Kingmakers of Oakland during the pandemic. I left Oakland Unified School District as the Deputy Chief of Equity. It's since not only launched African American Male Achievement, but African American Female Excellence, Latino Student Achievement, and Asian Pacific Islander Student Achievement. But decided it was my time to move from being an intrapreneur to an entrepreneur and create something that my family and community could own and really not get tampered with. I think one of the things I've learned about innovating in public school systems is that they change at the whim of every new superintendent or every new kind of federal legislation, a kind of movement in public school education. And so I wanted to create something that my children's children could have and leverage. And so we're now in our second year, and we're offering programming in Washington and California, Georgia in particular, and really just continuing to keep the work and the legacy going that was started in Oakland back in 2010, but now through Kingmakers of Oakland.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's good work.
So I have a question for you. What does it mean to put youth at the forefront of your work, and how can you actively, and what does it look like to give a youth their voice?
They have a voice. I mean, I think, so let me just start with that. I think, part of this journey I am on now is really tapping into this form of AI, and not artificial intelligence, but ancestral intelligence. That as kings, you all have everything that you need within you. In knowing who and whose you are, you possess innate greatness in ways that are extraordinary. But you're sent to a public school system that would lead you to believe that your cultural legacy that you come from had no impact on the science, math, social studies, on the society that we call America, or this country we call America. And so I think for us, what I'm trying to do is leverage all authority I may have and institutional knowledge and power to really create opportunities for Black boys to be the co-designers of their future from a policy standpoint, from really the classroom to the boardroom. And so we work hard to really help get adults out of the way and ensure that Black boys can take their crowns out their pocket and rock it. And part of that is just knowing who and whose you are. And so we also, through the creation of an African-centered curriculum, teach our kings that they come from royalty, right? And that this is part of upsetting the setup in public school where you know not who you are. And many times you don't have a sense of your innate greatness until you take your first Black Studies course in community college or in 4-year college. We're trying to disrupt that by accelerating the content that our kings have as early as pre-K.
Right. That being said, is mentoring an essential part of one's development?
Absolutely. No one makes it to where they're going by themselves, I think you ask everyone, how did you get to where you go? And if it wasn't for a teacher or a mentor or someone that was helping them get content knowledge or gain access to different networks or different resources, that came through mentorship. So I think mentorship is foundational for kings realizing and recognizing that they actually have a crown in their pocket. And how do you take it out of your pocket and then put it on your head, but also now wear it with responsibility. So you are operating with integrity, with love, with light, but also are moving with people in that same vein. And you're able to do that if the circle of people around you are aligned in voice and vision and in values. And that requires mentorship, right? In order to be a good friend, it's helpful to have seen what good friendship is, right? In order to be a good brother, a good father, you have to have mentors around you to show what is brotherhood, what does a father mean? In order to be a good employee or a good innovator, you need to have modeled that from somewhere, knowing that it may be within you, but it's seeing that in others that gives you the audacity to know, I can do that. And so exposure is very important around mentorship, but mentorship is foundational. I would not be half of the person I am today if it wasn't for so many folk, known and unknown, folks that I could touch and talk to folks I've read about or seen about.
Wow. Well, so in your role in mentoring and what you've gone through, what is a key tool or a system that you've used that you've seen really help?
Yeah, man. A part of my origin story is the fact that I'm adopted. And, people used to always tell me blood is thick in the water. And for me, when you didn't have blood, mentorship came down to this, or family and community came down to this. It's really conditioning yourself to love unconditionally. Those people that pulled the greatest out of me loved me in ways that I didn't even know how to love myself. And that was unconditional. It wasn't just loving me when I was doing well, but when I was at my worst or at my lowest, mentorship was someone seeing the tomorrow in me and not allowing me to take the position of a wilted flower, but no, King, hold your head up. Nah, I see you and this too will pass. Where's the lesson in this? And so, I forgot the question, but I just think at the end of the day, that unconditional love, like we need people that are not temporary mentors, so to speak. Like we need folk that are ride or die. They're gonna see me through the seasons of life. And part of the best mentorships are not, again, when everything is just fine. It's actually through conflict, through darkness. And it's out of that love is strengthened, but clarity and learning is accelerated. And the best mentors intergenerationally, from my youngest son to my friend who I met when I was 7, and he's now uncle to all of my sons, has been through those moments of darkness, those moments where others would give up, but a true mentor is like, I'm rolling with you and I'm gonna see you through. Never at the expense of self, but I just deeply appreciate those mentors that will see their way through all of the seasons, through when it's good and when it's bad. And so I think mentorship at the end of the day is really about unconditional love and seeing the tomorrow. One of the tools that I'm learning is this idea of listening, really listening without already forming my thought or forming my judgment or what I'm going to say, but really just being present with whatever that person has to say, and not trying to fix, but trying to ask questions, right? Of really posing and mentoring through just inquiry versus, every now and then it is good, don't get me wrong, to give support and help people ideate, but at the end of the day, knowing I'm trying to help you bring out what is in you. And when you can make meaning of that, I think it's you'll go farther faster, because it was more of maybe me listening in a way that I can help pose questions that help you turn on that internal light to be like, yeah, I got it. And so I think one of the skills or tools definitely is constructive listening. I made reference to commitment, absolutely. And then I think another domain that really has proven well for me in my own evolution is really this mantra of moving brothers from not working to networking. So as much as, having access to the social capital, where mentorship also is not what I can do, but as I listen and understand where you're at and whose you are, then I can think around my network and net worth of 50 years of folk, how I can plug in and take advantage of these other folk. Man, call this brother. Can't call this sister. And so that requires constructive listening. It requires unconditional love, but it also requires me to take the E out of ego and really know I want to share my network and network with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Is there a word, phrase, or lesson that has been shared with you that inspired you on your journey of mentoring?
Yeah. I mean, one is half stepping will get you halfway. If you seek it all, you'll find it all. I think the best mentor is yourself. And I think you got to get your own mind right, your own ecology grounded in a way you can be open, right? Because I think when you operate in the domain of abundance and you get your mindset right, you find out that there's so much opportunity, right? But when you're not ready, sometimes folks that may want to pour into you or opportunities that may be presented because you haven't necessarily, not you or you, but the individual hasn't necessarily done the mirror work, right? That I am worthy, right? That I am ready, then they end up half-stepping. And if you half-step, you only gonna get halfway, right? And if you seek it all, right, and you're able to pour in yourself and get your spirit right, open up the chakra, open up your mindset, what I find is the spirit, the world will not work against you. It actually will work in service of you because you're ready.
So in this relationship of mentor-mentee, I'm sure there has been times where something has been discouraging or they mentioned like, is this right? So what kept you going? What kept you like, I have to keep building this young man? What made you keep going?
Well, I mean, I just remind myself, my own experience, one being adopted, right? If my adoptive parents, when shit hit the fan, excuse my language, but if things got so tough and they gave up on me, that would have been unacceptable, right? They never gave up on me, right? My best friend that I met at 7, had many times we can give up, and he never gave up. And so I think, it's just not giving up on each other. Give me the question again.
So pretty much what caused you not to give up?
I think just that, the fact that I just think back that there were folks that could have, and there were folks that gave up on me. Public school, as quiet as kept, I had a horrific experience, kindergarten through 12th grade, and it was my mom, my dad, and it was my outside community that, always, man, it got me to keep my head up and believed in me. And so I think the fact that folks didn't give up on me, the people that I loved and believed in, I can't give up,
You're talking about modeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to know, who's your mentor?
Oh man, my mentors right now are Jordan Lateef Chatmon, Khalil Elijah Chatmon, Amari, Malik Chatmon, my 3 sons, my wife LaShawn Denise Route, Gary Mark Beasley, that was my camp counselor, Camp Mendocino, Unit 7, 1977, Other mentors, man, Shrim Bethay, Brendan Anderson, Mateem Abdul Kwawi, Dr. Rochelle Rajazard, Alonzo Henderson, Jonathan Piper II, Angus Bates, Elijah. I mean, I am so blessed, and I can continue. Brandon Nicholson. I mean, to see what that brother has done with Hidden Genius, remembering when we started this work in Oakland Unified School District, and he had this idea, and we're like, come on, man, we were running an academy called the Kepra Academy that was so successful, the system shut it down. But the folks that were driving coding and doing the tech, that was Brandon and his team. Years ago at Ohio, Brandon's a mentor. Marcus Struthers. I mean, cats that sometimes think, oh man, mistake me and him. The fact that through being able to see other brothers too that I may not know super deep, but actually we're in the same ether, do moves, I'm gonna leave this to go do this, gives me permission of what's possible. So I am truly blessed, y'all.
Hearing what you said, the reason why I feel like you're a great mentor is because you started when you were so young, 3rd grade, right? You looked at yourself and you had to understand yourself. So that's why you at this age right now, you're like understanding the mentees and like how they act and why, and how can you like fix that and give them advice because you went through all that and you really reflected yourself at such a young age.
I should. Right off, good reflection on what I was saying. Thank you.
And going into that, has there ever been a time where you had to go against the traditional norms of the school system to help a young man of color?
Oh, that's every day. I mean, I got written up the first day I was graduated from Brown University, Ivy League institution, master's in education, and my first teaching job was at Thurgood Marshall High School. And the very first lesson I did, the first day, I did this lesson 4 times, but got written up after my first period of modern world history. I had, out of the 140 students I had 139 of those students were all students of color. I had one white student. He's a cool cat named Riley. But it was all folks of color. And the exercise I did the first day was write down the 10 most influential people in history and her story. Mind you, this was 10th grade modern world history. They had history from kindergarten all the way through 9th grade. And so I had each person write down their top 10 lists. And then they would partner up. All right, you two, you got to take your top 10, and then you all agree on who your top 10 is. And then they had to get 5 votes. And so of those 40 students in that first period class, they wrote down some 10 lists of their top 10 people that had an influence in all of history. And first period, 49 out of the 50 folks that were on that board were white men. And so I had everybody take their modern world history book. We opened up, we had the 2nd story building. We are over Dr. Butcher's class. We took our history books and we threw them out the window and launched them on the lawn in that little contest. Dr. Butcher came up and he was like, you can't throw, why even students throw the books out? And I was like, look at the board. We're all students of color. In our public school education, this is what they learned as folks of color, that the most influential people in history were all white men. We've done a disservice. So he said, but you still can't have them throw the books out the window. I was like, all right. So 2nd period, we did the same activity. And again, 49 out of 50 white men. So we didn't throw them out the window, we put them in the garbage can. We did that 3rd period, 49 out of 50, 4th period, 49 out of 50, which was humbling on multiple levels. Again, forgetting what the question was per se, other than, was there a time? Yeah, every time. I mean, you cannot be a conscious brother and not be dropped to your knees around the egregious impact that this society, this culture, plays on the lives of Black children every day. And so
we thank you. You've shared a lot of news today. A lot of the things that you've shared touched me personally. I know it will really be effective. We have one more question for you. So past our school boards, past these interviews that we're doing, past just sitting down and talking, what are the things that has to systematically change to make more equity for our young Black men? What has to change?
A whole lot has to change. Well, from a public school standpoint, I mean, the ecosystem of which I work in, I mean, I think we have to rewrite curriculum in this country to lift up the cultural prosperity and legacy of Black, Brown, Indigenous youth. Right now, the present curriculum is Eurocentric and values a really Eurocentric value system, of which I think to be conscious and succeed in that public school system is really difficult. So, and you almost have to sell yourself out to the degree of which, I've mastered all that, but I still don't know who and whose I am. So to the degree of which we rewrite curriculum in this country that lifts up the cultural prosperity of Africans throughout the diaspora, of Indigenous people, of Asian Pacific Islander and Polynesian people, I think that's one domain. Kind of within the Eurocentric kind of construct, the reality is wealth in this country is 3 generations deep. And so if we're going to look at how we help kings. Kings need to own land. They need to have move from not working to networking. So they need to have the same access to social capital that affluent communities, doesn't matter what their children do, they actually have access to social capital, right? When they decide to be like, oh, okay, I can stop all that stuff. Now I can call dad and get a job here. Or I can take out a loan and access this. Or I can leverage my house. We don't have access to that, generationally speaking, within this country and context. So we need to redistribute power. We need to redistribute land. We need to redistribute resource to the degree our kings are no longer learning what I learned. Oh, go to college. Oh, do one job. Nah, king. You can do all of what it is that you want to do. And don't let nobody tell you can't be whatever it is, but have multiple income, have multiple revenue streams. I would have remained a high school or a K-8 PE teacher if I could have afforded it, right? But my wife and I were teaching. Our two sons were in the bedroom while we were in the living room. Here we are with two amazing individuals with Ivy League degrees, but we couldn't even afford to buy a house. So I say all that to say, knowing what I now know, we need to teach you all the financial game, how to move capital, how to access capital, get property before you even graduate from high school. And so all that to say, I think it's, so I think I shared a lot in reference to the complexity, but that's where I'm at right now is now I'm trying to make sure that kings have institutional, positional authority, that they can move resource, have access to resource, have access to social capital, so they can manifest all of their dreams. And who am I to say you can't? Nah, it's mentorship is me listening to what it is you want to do with love and humility, and then leveraging my genius so you can tap in and plug into. So that's that's what I'm on now, trying to figure out how I do that in service of kings like yourself.
Wow, it's powerful. The question was, what has to systematically change, but you targeted that.
Yeah, the entire system, structure, culture, and condition. The present system and structure privileges white brothers and sisters, right? The culture is toxic, right? If in our culture and knowing who and whose we are, the cure is in our culture. But the present culture right now is toxic to us, right? We turn on television and we have a false sense of who we are. We don't even know that we come from royalty, right? We never know our crown this whole time was in our pocket. So all that to say, system, structure, culture, and conditions, all of that has to change. And that's what Kingmakers is about, and that's what I'm about, and that's what Brother Marcus, Brother Brandon's about. So y'all just keep on rocking with the people you're rocking with. And Brother PJ behind the screen telling the story. Whoever controls this narrative, y'all, has the power. So we got to tell our stories, because actually stories contextualize facts. People say, oh, quantitative data, it's all about the story. Continue to tell, we got to tell our story. It's now is the time we tell our story, and we contextualize those facts, but on our narrative. And so that's what the power of what you all are doing. So I salute you both, and any way I can support you all in your journey, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Kingmakers.
Sure. I want to thank you once again. Thank you for coming. It's been a great interview.
Thank you. We appreciate everything that you've shared. Everything you share are jewels that we need. We appreciate that. So we thank you.
All love. Right on, King.
Thank you.
Right on, King. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Right on.
Hey. Yeah, okay. Sunshine in my eyes, melanin shine bright. Elephant in the light. I be taking big steps on a rope that's tight. That's life when you nice and you trying to reach heights that you never been. Can't stay down long when you haven't seen. And that's word to the bones in the sediment. Be the truth, be the light, be the medicine. We ain't settling.
Black like I'm Huey Freeman, don't hang with Uncle Ruckus. I've seen a couple brothers fall when they abuse a substance, but this music is the only high I need. And I love to see the ladies smile, showing off their teeth. Got a strong sense of character, the type you want to lead. Follow as I journey down my yellow brick road. No, I do not need a wizard, keep my wishes simple. Since a kid I know my power multiplied like tenfold.
And we the kings, land of the dollar and the dream. Man up, you follow where you lead. Drink your water, you will see. Grow when you find what you need.